I want to share some different examples in my life of, you know, the topic more or less of thinking the good of people rather than the negative. And, you know, I had mentioned, I think, many times in my videos that I have sought therapy for past issues. And there were issues of sexual abuse when I was 5 years old. And, through the years, I noticed issues of rejection and self worth. And it's funny how different circumstances can bring up those different issues. And unless they're dealt with, you're going to walk into the same patterns of woundedness that you have always done. And that's what I have done in my life. If something recently that has come up is that when someone diminishes me in my worth, then I have the tendency to flee from the situation. I I then would start backing off, and I would not think any good of myself. I would think I'm not worth anything. And then it could be like if I have a partner and I'm dealing with those issues, then I would tell them, well, you need to find somebody that's better than me. And it's not the right thinking to have, but it's the thinking that I've always had. And unless it's dealt with at the beginning when I'm feeling it, then I'm just going to go keep repeating that same pattern that I have before. But, just it's hard to think the good of people when your eyes are focused on the negative of the past wounded patterns in your life. And I had done that many times in my life where, when you are wounded, your focus then is on your wounds. It's not on other people. And that is what I had done when I was wounded. I wasn't thinking about anybody else. I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about how hurt I was. But honestly, with therapy, it's really helped me to tackle the issues that I've always dealt with in my life, the issues of self worth, the issues of rejection. And really, it's like a transplanting. You're transplanting thoughts. You're taking, you're countering the negative thoughts that you have at that different situation. Whatever situation comes up that brings those thoughts to you, it's stopping yourself, knowing your worth, and then changing your thoughts. So with my example, I like I had issues of rejection and self-worth, like I'm not worth being loved and not worth loving. And you know, when you're faced with those issues, then it's so easy to go along with them. It's so easy to repeat that same wounded pattern as before. So, I mean, many times I have countered the hurt of my past. And since I have done so, since I know my worth is in Jesus, then I honestly don't feel the same way that I did 3 years ago. I feel like I'm a different person. So, this whole topic is basically about thinking the good of other people. And so I want to try to give a couple examples. And I know in videos in the past, I mentioned these examples. But um, I recall in 2006 or 2007, friends of me and the girl who shared the same birthday as me, um, we were sent different emails. To her, an email was sent, "Hey, come to Rob's party." To her, about her, an email was sent to me, "Come to such and such party." And when I read that, I felt rejection. I thought to myself, what, don't they know it's my birthday too? And that's when the enemy came in and he started speaking negative. And the more I listened to him, the more I started wallowing deep and deeper into that negative, letting the enemy speak. And then the more he spoke, the angrier I got. And I resolved in my mind not to go to that party because I thought to myself that these people don't care about me. I'm alone. I don't have anyone. And so, just to make a long story short, I was pushed to go by a lady from the church. She more or less bluntly told me that, they're having a birthday party for you too, you know. And so I went, and sure enough, I looked at the cake and they had both our names on it. They were going to celebrate both of us. And when I saw that, I felt bad. And I felt bad more so for the girl that shared the same birthday. Why couldn't I go for them? Why did I think about myself? And so when you're walking in the past woundedness, it's hard to think the good, but it's where we can stop ourselves when we are faced with a negative. You know, are we going to think the good of somebody, you know, or are we going to think the bad? Why is it that we have the tendency to always think the bad of people? Why is it that we walk in the flesh regarding people? Why can't we see the good that they try to do? Do we see any effort that they have tried to do for us? So, you know, I think another example was when I was 14 and I was in the hospital for, asthma related issues. I was staying with my 90-year-old aunt, and she couldn't clean her place like she wanted to. And so, because she couldn't, I was allergic to dust. So, because I was allergic to dust, it put me into the hospital with breathing issues. And so, I was dealing with those breathing issues. And so, I was in the hospital for hours with no one coming to see me. And then my mother and sister coming to see me at night. But the whole day, I was by myself with my thoughts, and I was already wallowing in self rejection issues. And so my sister and mother came at night when they were done with work. They came to see me, and I was already deep in rejection. And I felt in my mind that they were only trying to fit me into their busy schedule, that they didn't really want to be there. And so, because I had that foremost in my mind, I didn't want to see anyone. But really, deep inside, I wanted to see them, but I wanted to be reassured that they cared about me, that they loved me. That was the root issue of my problem. And so, when I'm hurt, I have the tendency to flee from the situation. And that's exactly what I did. I locked myself into the bathroom, and then a head nurse told me to come out. I still had to flee. I didn't want to see anyone. So I ran down the hallway until the nurse told me to get back into the room. My mother and sister ended up leaving, and I was forced to sit with another nurse at night because they didn't want me by myself because they thought maybe I would have hurt myself. So this is another example of thinking the good, but I couldn't think the good because I wasn't even in that place yet in my life where that was even a possibility, because I was wallowing in my own pain and I was wallowing in my own hurt. And so, um, only the negative was foremost in my mind. But when I look back on these situations now that I'm in therapy, I I can counter these issues. So, thinking the good, regarding the party, since I know that they would have, since I know that they had the party for me and the girl that shared the same birth date, why didn't I think to myself, at the very beginning, you know, there's a logical reason why they said come to her party. You know, it would have to take time and think of a logical explanation. Yeah, maybe they could have forgotten, but just because they may have forgotten doesn't mean that they don't care. And, it takes knowing somebody, knowing their character. Are these people the kind of people that have showed a lack of care in the past? And looking at the truth of that, no, that's not how they were. That's not the character that they have shown. So if that's not the character that they have shown, there's a logical explanation, which eventually we find out that they had a party for both of us. So with the issue regarding the hospital stay and, you know, my mother and sister coming to see me, I was dealing with the issues of them making, for me thinking that they don't care about me. Well, looking at the truth of it, what kind of character did my mother and sister have? Did they show care in the past? Yeah, they had showed care. So it's, lining that truth up against the lies that were going through my mind at that time. It didn't hold water. They weren't true, so they should have been dismissed. But they weren't dismissed because I didn't have the tools to dismiss them at that time. So, looking back on the situation now, how can we transplant those negative thoughts with the truth? It's countering the lies that, okay, so what went through my mind? Well, they don't care about me. They forgot about me. They're trying to fit me into their busy schedule. Is that really true? Well, let's look at the truth of it. They were at work. How is it that they can just leave work and come and see me? They couldn't do that. That's an impossibility. Who's going to be able to do that? So, having that truth in place, changes the outlook of things. Did they call the hospital room while I was in there? I don't remember now. It could have. Now, if they called, which most likely I'm sure that they did find out how I was doing. So those could have been, the reasons to come against the lies that the enemy was trying to bring. So, let's bring this, to your lives as well. You know, are you quick in thinking the bad of somebody rather than the good? Is it possible to have logical explanations for, you know, the thoughts that are coming to your mind that are negative? If you're quick in thinking the bad about somebody, how much of that bad thinking is true? Can you weigh it against the truth of the character of the person? And so, I was just thinking about the issues in my own life. And, I've done it in the past as well, where I would just think the negative quickly about somebody. But now that I have been in therapy, I'm always trying to think the good of somebody, you know, not being quick to jump to conclusions, but to assess the situation, to line it up with their character. Even if I don't know somebody, what is the logical explanation of what is going on, of what was said, of what was done? And I think that's the problem, is that if we are quick with a negative, you know, what positives can we think of about somebody? So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for taking the time to watch.